Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the California Nevada Chat this Friday, August 8th. Thanks for joining us. My name is Nikki Gatch. I serve as the Executive Director of the Southern California PGA. On behalf of our president, Dr. Allison Kurt, as well as our colleagues from the Northern California section, we welcome you to today's chat. I'd like to turn it over for a couple of opening comments from the Northern California section president, Nick Bailey.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki, and thank you to both Caitlin and Nikki for organizing this today and providing this great education for our members and associates. I think today's a great couple of speakers. It looks like we have quite a few participants on today, which speaks to the importance of having Derek Sprague, who is our PGA CEO, as well as Craig Kessler with California Alliance for Golf. So. I think Derek's a great speaker and, certainly breathing through a fire hose over the last 7 months or so in the new chair, but looking forward to today's chat. So I will turn it over back to Nikki here for the chat.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you being on. So yes, we're thrilled to to have Derek Sprague, our PGA of America CEO, with us, and then of course we'll wrap up the hour with a legislative update from the California Alliance for Golf Executive Director Craig Kessler. I think most of you know Derek, but as a reminder, he served as our 39th president of the PGA of America, serving from 2014 to 2016. Derek has been in governance both at the section and national level since 1998. He's won numerous awards at the section level, including being awarded Northeastern New York PGA Section Golf Professional of the Year 3 times. Quite an honor. And then his highest honor came in 2019 when he was inducted into the PGA of America Hall of Fame. We're thrilled that in December of 2024, Derek accepted the position of CEO of the PGA of America, and it's, I think, the first time we've had a PGA member in that role. So, Derek, thank you for all of your years of service, and thank you for your service in your new role, and welcome. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Nikki, and hello, everybody. I don't have a formal presentation. My leadership style is more conversational, and as I like to say, I don't want to lead the PGA of America with text messages or emails. I like to, get around a table, hear from all of our members, hear from our employees here at headquarters, and hear from people around the industry and have some meaningful conversations of how we can serve our members and grow the game together. And so I'll give you a little bit of a highlight. I did speak at the Southern Cal. So for those that were, we did that virtual meeting right a number of months ago, but glad to be with both Northern Cal and Southern Cal now. I got some great friends in both sections, so it's nice to be with you today. But I started at the PGA show, and I'd been attending the PGA show since back in the mid '80s. I actually, I think my first time going to the PGA show, I actually invented. Don't talk about this much, but give you a little nugget here. I actually invented a putting device, a training device called the Puttin' Pal when I was in college at James Madison University, and got it patented and got it manufactured. I went down there and tried to sell my training device at one of the booths, and then just continued to go to the show after that as a golf professional, and earned my membership in 1993. So I've been a PGA member for over 30 years now. And so at the show, certainly, I guess the big announcement there was, the PGA of America does not support the ball rollback that's being talked about in the game. There's a lot of complications for our PGA professionals if that rule goes forward, the implementation and the maybe the organic or natural bifurcation that can happen with that decision. So that occurred back then, and then we sort of moved. We have a pretty aggressive championship schedule, and when I talk about championship schedule, many people in the industry, and certainly in our PGA family as well, is they're thinking about our spectator championships, our seniors and our men's and our women's, and then coming here in another month, and we'll talk about the Ryder Cup. Those are our 4 spectator championships, but we do a lot more than that, as you know, with all the tournaments that you have in your respective sections. Our big run here for me as your CEO and a lot of our team here is we started drive, chip, and putt at the Masters, and I think all of you should be proud and that Augusta welcomes our 41 sections to help not only do all the qualifiers and the regionals and sub-regionals and all that, actually to really run the operation, the drive, chip, and putt operation on the grounds at the Masters in Augusta National. So really, it gets kicked off there. Our PGA Rules Committee, they actually mark the course at Augusta National. That's a little known secret that I'm sharing with many of you today. That should be a proud moment. If you look at our history, our two first senior PGAs were actually played at Augusta National Golf Club. So we have a long history with Augusta National and the Masters, and now sort of in the modern era, being a key partner with the drive, chip, and putt should be a proud moment of that growth of the game program and the visibility that puts on our organization, partnering with the USGA and the Masters for drive, chip, and putt. And then Carrie Haig has been in the scores room. Carrie will never tell you that, but Carrie is relied on by the Masters Competition Committee to run all the scoring at the Masters. So PGA really gets started back in April, and then we go right into our championships back to back with our men's and senior championship. And we recently announced, as you may or may not know, that we're moving our senior PGA championship to the Concession Golf Club out in Bradenton, Florida, between Bradenton and Sarasota counties down there, and they're both contributing to get that tournament down there. So it'll be there for 3 years. And just to give you another look behind the scenes of like, how do we select sites? How do we select, clubs and courses or locations? It's not easy. And where does it fit on the calendar, right? So there's a lot of coordination between television, our allied partners like the PGA Tour in this instance. We can't just, if we move the senior PGA that was in May and we can't just pick any week we want. We have to work with them and say, hey, will this work? And then we go there, and then NBC might say, well, that doesn't work for us, or Golf Channel says doesn't work for us. So we really have to thread the needle, have lots of conversations. And then if we have a partner, like we do with KPMG, for example, we're still looking for a partner for the senior championship. But a lot of times they will influence the decision. That's not really a good market for us, or that's a great market. We'd love to go there. Can you find a great course there? And then when we go to the courses, you got to look at all the infrastructure that a course may have or may not have. And what I like to say is that, there's a lot of great championship golf courses out there, but now the footprint that, in particular, our PGA Championship and a Ryder Cup needs to host that event, we actually need more acreage outside the ropes than we do inside the ropes for corporate hospitality, for TV compounds, for food vendors to set up temporary kitchens, rideshare, Uber and Lyft and the like. You need space for them. Ryder Cup's going to have a helipad. Well, you need space to land helicopters. We're going to have a VVIP experience there for helicopters to land. So lots go into site selection. And when we just moved our seniors, even at the senior level, we go down there. Carrie Haig, David Charles, and our management team members will go down and look at the site. Can we bring bus terminals here? Do we have space for buses to even turn around? What about all the SUVs that'll be dropping off, or player parking near the clubhouse? Lots of stuff goes into to making those site selections. So anyway, so now I'm up to April and May, where we had our PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. They've hosted tour events. They hosted our 2017 PGA Championship there. They have the infrastructure to host major events like our PGA Championship. And then I wanted to mention we moved our seniors to have a permanent site for 3 years. Again, just to have some efficiencies with a site. When you look at the other majors, the Masters has a permanent site, and our championship moves around the country. The Open Championship moves around the country. The U.S. Open moves around. I should say the Open Championship moves around countries, right? We were just in Ireland for that one, but and then the U.S. Open will move theirs around. But when you look at the rotation of say those other three majors, including ourselves, right? There's again, it's not an infinite amount of facilities or courses that we can host our championships at. We need to, as I just mentioned, check the box in many different areas. And the other component when you get to all our championships is we need to work with the state, we need to work with the city, the county, all the permitting that we need for the hospitality. But then also, if we're going to have road closures or traffic changes needed, we need to get the governments involved there. And when you bring a PGA championship to say Frisco here in 2027, those discussions start years in advance. The Ryder Cup, we started years in advance for that one, especially when you're working with New York State owns the park. That it's pretty cool that we're bringing the Ryder Cup to a public park, if you will, of 5 golf courses there. Lots of coordination all the way up to the governor of New York State. Wow. So it's painfully slow. Nikki and Craig Kessler know all about working with the government agencies. So lots goes into that. So that brings us to May. Then we just recently had our KPMG Women's PGA Championship here at our home quarters in Frisco, Texas. Many of you saw that on challenging week. It really tested Carrie's game on course setup with 30-mile-an-hour winds, high 90-degree temperatures, heat index over 100, new golf course for the ladies. So they were getting used to it, and then complicated with the weather and the wind, it made it really challenging. But again, this course is only 3 years old, right? So I tell people when they ask questions about Frisco, I was at TPC Sawgrass for the last 7 years, and we made changes every year to the golf course, whether we're moving trees, moving cart paths, fixing greens, whatever. So and we're working with the Omni folks here at Frisco. Is that this is a new championship course. Gil Hans, one of the most respected designers in the game, he was just here on Monday looking at some of the tweaks that we learned from both the senior PGA that we had here in 23 and the women's in June to get ready for 27. It's a tight time frame. We're actually going to be doing some of those tweaks here in a couple of weeks to soften some greens, soften some tees, looking at even planting some trees for shade out there. So again, and we all marvel at the work that Augusta National has done over the last 20 years, right? They, all the stories of them buying property, for example, their footprint is growing and they need more space, and at that championship as well. So all good things to come there. And then the Ryder Cup, as I just touched on, I remind our PGA members that we only host the Ryder Cup once every 4 years in this country. So when you look at it through that lens, and I try not to make our team nervous about this here at headquarters, but the pressure's on, right? Because you can't fix it the next week or the next year or the next year after that, or even the third year after that. Okay, you only get another bite at the apple 4 years from now. So, and when you think about that for site selection, when people say, "Wow, where's it going to be next?" Okay, it'll be at Hazeltine in 29. But we need to, it's really twice a decade, right, that we host it here in this country. So there's a lot of pressure to deliver. And I shared with the team here in my first 7 or 8 months that I said, when we get, we got a great team in Long Island right now that's been there a couple of years working on this. But we had to get through our other championships. When that women's championship got done in June, I told our GM management team, I said, okay, catch your breath. But I said, all eyeballs are on the Ryder Cup, and the focus is on the Ryder Cup and the PGA of America and all of us here. I said, I don't want to add any pressure, but I am adding pressure. We need to deliver. It's going to be the most iconic global venue in the world, being, outside the Statue of Liberty in New York City and out on Long Island. The world's going to be watching. We'll have over 1 billion households focusing on the Ryder Cup, and something all of our PGA members can be very proud of that we're hosting it. And just so how the Ryder Cup works is is when that plane lands, so the European team, they're responsible, everything on that side of the pond. And when they touch ground here in the United States, then it's our responsibility as the PGA of America to do all the coordination, all the logistics, everything from locker rooms and transportation from the airport to the different dining venues, to the hotel, to the golf course and all that. That's all of our responsibility. So you can just imagine the tremendous lift for our team. The Metropolitan PGA section has been great partners so far, doing their share, helping us out on the ground there. It's a heavy lift for them too, but like you would be very proud to help out as well. So all hands on deck here from here on out. And I think, you hear the podcast every morning. I don't know what time they're on out in California, but it's all about Ryder Cup, and it's Ryder Cup every single day, and it will be all the way through the event, and probably a few days after the event, talking about the matches. So a proud moment, and then the next one will be in Ireland, at Adair Manor in 2027, and that'll be the 100th anniversary of the Ryder Cup. So when you look at the history of the Ryder Cup and what it's mean to our organization, and for, say, some of the newer folks, it really turned the corner in 91. Depends who you talk to. Dave Stockton in California, I believe, right? Dave Stockton, 80. He'll say it was 89, but I think us contemporaries really think it was 91, or the war on the shore at Keogh Island really put the Ryder Cup on the map. We used to have to pay the networks to put the Ryder Cup on television. Now they pay us a lot of money, which help. Maybe this is a good segue. It really helps to pivot to the governance side and our membership side. So again, I talked about the spectator championships, but as you know, we run so many other championships for our members, for our PGA junior leaguers. We got the national finals coming up here in the fall, right here in Frisco. I talked about drive, chip, and putt. Our PGA Works Collegiate Championship we had at Kohler, Wisconsin, site of the 21 Ryder Cup, of giving the underrepresented communities just a major championship feel with that collegiate championship, and through our efforts with Beyond the Green and other initiatives, making golf look more like America and growing the game with that initiative. And then PGA Hope, we're coming up in October this year of our National Health and Wellness Week, which will be at Congressional, a great partner of ours. We just had the senior PGA there. They will be hosting that again, where our PGA Hope veterans will be coming there and learning about the game and try to get assimilated back into civilian life, and learning what golf can do to change their lives, and get them to put a club in their hand rather than a bullet in their hand and in the chamber of a gun. And there's so many suicides for our veterans in this country that PGA of America and many of you on this call, hopefully, are you doing your part to help our veterans have purpose in life and come out and either take up the game, or if you have employment opportunities at your facilities. I can tell you a lot of the veterans are just incredible employees. We've heard story after story throughout our organization that they're just reliable, dependable employees, and it gives them purpose in life, and they get to be around the great game of golf, and hopefully they put a club in their hand. So kudos to all our PGA professionals that really grow the game day in and day out, either using PGA programs like PGA Junior League or PGA Hope, or drive, chip, and putt, as I mentioned, or the others, PGA Works. I know many of you have just tremendous junior programs. You've got great programs in your sections to grow the game and inspire people. School's probably getting ready to start out there, as it is here in Texas. So, the kids will have to be playing after school or on weekends. But I know you're doing the growth in our association. Women is the highest growth percentage in the last few years, and juniors are right behind the women. And we're seeing an all-time high with, close to 550 million rounds of golf being played in this country, which is just incredible amount of rounds of golf. And it's the PGA professional coming out of the pandemic has sort of been in the center of that surge of making sure that they're managing all those additional rounds of golf at your facilities or off course as well. And we've seen, I think, in the last couple of years, off-course attendance has actually eclipsed on-course attendance. And we've seen incredible growth with compensation as well because of that. And that's with the great work of our 25 or 26 career consultants and executive search doing great work out there. Really, not only coaching our PGA professionals, but coaching the employers as well of what it takes today to employ great PGA professionals and put them in the position for success, and that has helped drive compensation up. Here at Frisco, what was pretty neat for me as a CEO, all of our associates come through our front doors here. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. This week we have a level 2 executive management. We have all the different career paths that come through, the 3 career paths that come through here of coaching and golf ops and executive management. We have 14 folks downstairs in one of our classrooms right now, and it's pretty fun to see that they're learning our game and our skills, and will become members when they get through all the level 3. It's again 500 or 600 hours of course study and mentorship, and hopefully many of you are being great mentors to the next generation. And because with this growth, we're seeing many facilities add on PGA associates. It seemed like, Nikki, you probably know, and Caitlin, a few years ago, right? It was like, we don't have any assistants, we need more assistants. And now it seems like that pipeline is starting to fill up a little bit with so many associates coming through the program. Between the university programs and our associates, we're in the 8,000 to 9,000 range, which is pretty significant. And I think most would agree, when you have someone that's invested in the game as an associate, that they're going to be a better employee for you at your facilities or at your off course, because they can sort of talk the lingo. They love the game. They want to get back to the game, and they want to be part of the game for their careers. So thanks for everything you're doing there to help them on their PGA journey to really get involved with the game at a higher level. So I'm trying to think if you want to touch on anything else with employment. We're getting bullish on employment as well with our career consultants and an executive search. Trying to, as I've shared with our team, we really want to be the go-to employer. We want to own employment for the golf industry. The 3 letters PGA is synonymous with the golf industry, and so many people that I've mentored in my career, they don't know all the options that they have to remain. They want to be in golf somewhere, but they're not sure of all the avenues that they can take. And it's incumbent upon us to provide the resources in employment. And yeah, it would be great to get them at facilities or off course or within our sections or within here at headquarters. But you have agencies out there that are involved with golf. You have the USGA, you have the PGA Tour, you have the AJGA, you have golf associations, state amateur golf associations where PGA members can be employed. So there's so many avenues that if we can be the employer of choice for the industry, I think that'll make us more influential within the golf industry. So I'm excited to see where our employment team takes us in that regard. So I think, we got about 10 or 15 more minutes here. I'd open it up to questions. I don't know how you want to do it, Nikki, raising their hands or.
Yeah, if anyone, I encourage you to type in a question in the chat box, and Caitlin and I will monitor that. I've got a couple things.
Sure.
And Caitlin probably does too, so I'll give folks a minute or two to think about something to ask. First of all, thank you for that and running through the championships and all the events. I felt a little less stressed than I usually do about what we do at the section level after hearing all of that and knowing what we do here. It seems like nothing. So thank you for sharing that. How far out in advance are we trying to plan, for a PGA, for a KPMG, and then a Ryder Cup?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're probably in this 7 to 8 year window that we announce. But we look out maybe 15 years out. And like I said, when you go through the courses around the country, and we get inquiries all the time, right? People say, "Oh, we got a great golf course. We want to have a championship," and we'll take a look at it. and they don't have space for a TV compound, or they don't have enough space for parking, or the like, you know. So we can quickly qualify them if it's maybe a new course. But I know in part of Kerry Haig's, you know, he's been with us going on 36 years now. Sort of his formula is like, we always want to leave an out for a new course, right? If you go back to, for example, Whistling Straits, right? They our first PGA was there in 2004, and I think they only opened maybe 5 years before that, and we gave them out of the gate 2004, 2010, and 2015, and then the 20 was supposed to be the 2020 Ryder Cup. So we've done some models like that, Nikki, with Congressional. So when we find a partner that want to partners with us and it works, and they work with us, again, we will look at the strategy, because not only do we do our spectator championships, but we have PGA Cup, we have Boys and Girls Championships, we have our PGA Works Championships. Those are really non-revenue generating championships, or our PPCs, or our senior PPCs. But we need to have great championship golf courses to play. So we'll do some test runs with them, like we did in Frisco here. We had first one here was, I think, was our PPC. Then we have our senior championship, and then our women's, and leading up to the men's, and we'll see on our Ryder Cup. But we announce about 7 to 8 years out, but we're always looking maybe double that distance. And of course, Ryder Cup, you got to look out farther, because it's only here once every 4 years. And we can't look out too far with certain ones like the women's or the seniors, because if we get a new title, so KPMG is not giving us any indication they don't want to renew, that comes up in a couple of years. But let's say for whatever reason they go in a different direction, we may get a new partner, and we can't be locking them down to markets that don't want us. So it all depends on the asset that we're looking at. And of course, our member championships and our amateur championships that we run, whether it's the high school that we just did in Pinehurst, or the club championship one. I think we did that one in Georgia as well at Reynolds. But those are a much shorter window, because it doesn't take the big footprint and all the extra planning necessarily with the state or the counties. So 7 to 8 years is a good barometer for announcements.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. I have one more question, but I'm
Sure.
going to go. There's a question in the chat, and it's kind of along the same line, so I'm going to ask that one first. This is from Andy Tooney, one of our SoCal past presidents. Is there a definitive criteria for picking a Ryder Cup captain, or is it somewhat subjective?
A great question, Andy. And if you recall, after the 2014 Ryder Cup in Glen Eagles that we got defeated, that's where Pete Bavacqua, the former CEO, and myself chaired the Ryder Cup task force. And that was the exact question that we were asking. And I like to be, a little different thinker, however you want to term that. But I said, it always had to be a PGA champion, right? And we said, so if you look prior to that, we wanted our Ryder Cup captains to be a PGA champion. And so I just asked the question, well, do they need to be a PGA champion? And so that's where, when you look at Steve Stricker, didn't have any major, so I think it was PGA champion, or if not a PGA champion, a major champion. So that's when we selected Steve Stricker, was not a major champion. And we formed this Ryder Cup task force, and we asked that question, how important is that to the players that they're a PGA champion or a major champion? So again, I think that was one of the criteria that we sort of took off the list. And we just want to make sure that the captain has good chemistry with the team, good leadership skills, passion for the PGA of America. In this case, when you look at Keegan Bradley, his father's a PGA member. Mark Bradley's a PGA member. And then when you couple it with, he played at St. John's University, played at Bethpage, and I think we saw in full swing. And I wasn't there for this selection, but when you add it all up, it's like, wow, what a perfect fit. I mean, the passion that he had for the Ryder Cup back in 2012 when he played with Phil Mickelson, great pairing. The energy that he brings, the enthusiasm he brings for the Ryder Cup. That's the type of captain. I think we've seen that already in his term as captain. And and it'll be interesting. I'll give you the follow-up question, Andy. Is he going to be on the team? I don't know. But you know, I would like to personally see him be on the team
Yeah,
because of his drive, his determination, his competitiveness, his enthusiasm for the matches. We'll figure out all the other pairings and who makes
right.
the lunches and all that. We got that all in place, but
Yeah, let's get him on the
I think the
course.
American fans would love to see that
Yeah,
enthusiasm out there. Now, I wouldn't want to be Keegan because I can tell you I've been in the selection times with the other captains when they're going around like, who do you think? Should we put Nikki on the team? Should we put Caitlin on the team? Should we put Andy on the team or whatever? That's nerve wracking when they don't automatically qualify because, you know, you're always gonna, it's the Monday morning quarterback, right? If Nikki doesn't win any points, for example, wow, she was a bad pick. And then the captain, you know, and that's sort of what happened to Zach Johnson, right?
yeah,
He got panned, we got beat, you shouldn't have had that person. It's easy for the Monday morning quarterbacks to say that. But can you imagine picking yourself if you're
yeah,
not an
it's tough.
automatic qualifier, and then you got to go out and perform? And if you don't win points, that New York crowd is going to be pretty tough on Keegan. Even though he's a St. John's boy and played there and
Yeah,
all
oh
that,
yeah.
they're gonna be tough on him. So that's a lot for him to endure the pressure and on that selection. But
Derek,
great question.
when did we go from 6 automatic bids to 6 captain picks? Because that changed, right? Was that
Yeah, I
same
think
timeline as the task force or
yeah, it was around the same time. I think
okay.
it was 8 and 4. It's changed over the years. It was 10 and
Okay.
2, 8 and 4, and I think we went 6 and 6 to give the captain more latitude
Hmm.
on that for the other 6. You remember we had a couple times with the Billy Horschel one where I think he won the FedEx playoffs and didn't win or didn't get on the team, you know. So we're like, but because the way the selections were then, I think there's maybe only 2 picks at that time. I don't know. People will probably fact check me, but my point is that's why I think we gave more latitude to the captain. So, and right now, right, there's like probably 20 people still in the mix, and these next 3 weeks are not only important for FedEx and earnings, but it's really important for the Ryder Cup. And I'll give you how engaged Keegan is with building his team. I saw him at the U.S. Open. He came over and he talked to Don Ray and myself, and we said, "How's the team shaping up? What are you feeling? Whatever, you've been playing great. Whatever, good luck this week." He said there's like 43% of the points still out there for these guys to go grab. So let's see what they do. There's a number of months, you know, at that point, a couple more months, I think he said 7 or 9 weeks left from the US Open. So let's see what happens. But he had it down to the percentage of how many points were still available for the guys to go get to
Wow.
qualify. So I thought it was
Very
interesting.
cool. Very cool. Well, exciting stuff. I'm super excited to go. This will be my first Ryder Cup, so I figured I'll just might as well go to New York for that one. So
That's
really
right.
looking forward to that and look forward to seeing you there. Um, I'm going to ask my last question, then turn it over. I know Caitlin's got a couple. We talked about Frisco and the property there. I think there's still some misconceptions among our membership as to what we own, what we operate. Can you, I know it's a deep, deep subject, but maybe just take a minute or so to kind of
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not
summarize
really
that.
deep. I'll give you the high level, and it's a great question. Thanks for prompting me on that question
Yeah.
because we'll share this again at the annual meeting for those that attend the annual meeting or who virtually drop in on the annual meeting. But so you have as my wife likes to call me a mixed up milkshake because you know I'm like a chameleon with everything we got going here. But so this is a little bit of a mixed up milkshake in the sense that the city of Frisco actually owns the golf courses. The Omni the Omni Corporation owns or leases the golf courses. They own the hotel and the conference center. They own what we call PGA District, which is, you know, Vineyard Vine Store and Margaret's Snow Cones or whatever.
Mhm.
And there's some other retail shops there, PGA Golf Shop and a couple others. They own that and they derive rent from the PGA District. We own the T-Mobile Coaching Center, and we staff the T-Mobile Coaching Center. They built the building, and we lease it back from them. We had to outfit the inside of the building, but they built the shell
Mhm.
of the coaching center for us. We own our headquarters, which is in I don't know my directions, but I think we're in the northeast corner or northwest corner of the property, the 660-acre property here. And then Northern Texas section owns their building, and they're just adjacent to us here in the same corner of the property. So, maybe a little deeper dive when people say, similar to PGA Golf Club in Port St. Lucie, is like, well, why can't we get a deal here? Well, this is a little different than us owning PGA Golf Club. We have to be careful of compliance rules and how much of a benefit we can give our PGA members, and all 41 sections have to be careful of the benefits that we drive down to, to make sure we follow IRS rules on that. But here, it's really a separate owner, right? So we work. Paul Ernst is a PGA member from Northern Texas. He's our director of golf there. So he's in a little bit of a tricky spot. He's an employee of the PGA of America, but he also has to straddle the line. He reports to Omni folks as well because he's running their golf operation. Roger Meyer is a PGA of America employee, but he also has to report to the Omni folks as well. So they're like my role was, my history. I worked for the PGA Tour, but I managed Liberty National Golf Club for them up in New Jersey. So I reported to the owner, former founder of Reebok USA, Paul Fireman. So I had, if he said, "Hey, Derek, I need you to do this," I couldn't say, "Well, I work for the tour. I'm not going to do it, Mr. Fireman." He owned the property. So I did what he did, and I'd let my employer know. Well, same thing here for Paul and Roger. They report to ultimately me, but they, but they have to also report to the owner if the owner wants to do something on the course there. So we have to build a great relationship, and I've been doing that on the ground here as the CEO, building the relationship with the owners of Omni. It's privately owned company. Bob and Blake Rowling are the owners. Bob's the father. Blake's the son. They're Blake especially is really intricately involved with the operation. But then they have a hotel GM that's responsible for the property, and then they have their national support people, sort of like we do here, that go out to all their Omni properties. Another one here in Texas would be like Barton Creek, where we've had some PGA events there for our members of PPC, and PGA Cups have been at another Omni property. So that's sort of the framework, Nikki. And so we're working on getting a better benefit for our PGA members, but we're working through the Omni ownership to do that, and we hope to be able to announce something pretty positive at the annual meeting, and need a few more months to work through some of the details on that with the owners of Omni. But they've been a good partner since I've been here, and again, this is a whole new development. They have over $500 million invested of their money here, 2 golf courses. They got a 10-hole short course called the Swing. Got a 2-acre putting green called the Dance Floor. Both of those are lit up at night. It's fun to see everybody out there. And so anyway, hopefully that answers your question. It's a interesting mixed up milkshake, but it's working. And as your PGA CEO, I'm always looking to drive benefits to our members in all 41 sections.
Thank you.
That's a perfect segue, Derek. It's like you knew what was on my mind. So
Good.
I have one question coming from me, and then I'll ask the one that's in the chat after. But
Sure.
Regarding member benefits, there's definitely not a better time to get in the industry than right now. I personally believe that. And I think deferred compensation is a big deal for our members. So maybe, 2 years now since inception, can you maybe give a background on that for our members of where that's at?
Yeah, I would say, again, depending where you are in your career, your PGA journey, right? I think, and it's not unfortunate. It's a great benefit for those that are getting into the industry. But I think, I have 2 children. One's 28, one's 30, and my generation, I was a saver, an investor, and thinking ahead for the future. And unfortunately, a lot of our young generation, including our young PGA members and associates, it's hard for them to think of, if you're 25 years old, to be planning to when you're 65 years old and when you can take this deferred comp out. So the engagement has not been to the level that we have anticipated, but neither was Golf Retirement Plus when it came out. And I'm one of the benefactors, if you will, and you're going to see an article, I think, come out in PGA Magazine, that I was very successful with Golf Retirement Plus. I made, the sales reps that came to little old Malone, New York at Malone Golf Club, if they said, hey, we're participating now in PG or Golf Retirement Plus, that got my attention. And whether I gained $100 or $200 to go into investment, I knew I was going to be in this industry for a long time, and that investment has grown over the years. So I think we, quite frankly, and I talked to the CEO at the championship of Corebridge Financial, who manages the deferred comp, we need to do a better job at the PGA of America, and Corebridge is going to do a better job of educating our PGA members and our associates. And what's pretty cool, I just learned literally, so it's a timely question, Caitlin, last week, they said that Corebridge Financial is doing like a lunch and learn where they actually have a local office that comes in here and they buy lunch when we have our associates in here. I'm not sure which level, if it's level 1, level 2, or level 3, and they're doing financial literacy for our associates to talk to them about the deferred comp plan. So that's just part of the education program. They bring in lunch for all of them at their expense, talk to them about investing early, and then let the time value of money over the next 30, 40 years grow. So I think, again, like PGA Frisco, like deferred comp, it's a new program. People don't understand it. The other half of that equation is, and I hear this a lot from, say, PGA members that are maybe in their 40s or late 40s or 50s, they're like, well, too late for me, right, to do this. It's never too late to invest. I respect that. They said, well, if I put in, $1,500 a year for the next 10 years before I retire, next 15 years, it might not amount to much, but it's better than nothing. And it's free money, like Golf Retirement Plus. If you grow the game, you can get money put in your deferred comp. Same thing with Golf Retirement Plus. If you use the 37 or 38 vendors that we have, it's free money that you can invest into Golf Retirement Plus or deferred comp. So thanks for that question. And I think that's something that all of our 41 sections should continue to promote because I think for the right folks, right members and associates in your sections, it's going to be a huge payout someday.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for expanding on that. And that's so great to hear about that associate value add. That's awesome. Love to hear that. So last one here, question wise, it's about mentoring. So in our line of business, having a mentor is very important. My question is, we are looking to improve the mentoring. Are we looking to improve the mentoring program through the PGA for our associates?
Yes. And we were talking about this, 15 years ago when I first got on the national board and then served through the years. I think we need to, quite frankly, do better at this and formalize it somehow. And I know, one thing that we talked about, but we haven't gotten the engagement, in my opinion, and I think we can do better in this area. I love being a mentor to a number of people. I have probably 3 or 4 mentors of my own in different disciplines. I'll call a mentor if I need help in this area or that area. And I encourage everybody in this call that, you can't just have one mentor. You can have maybe a best friend mentor that you can lean on, vent to, whatever, but you need mentors that can help your career and help you personally as well, right? If you're having challenges at home. But this is one that, and I think for the executive, for you too, you and Nikki, Caitlin, is our life members within our 41 sections, right? They want to give back. We have to get them engaged at our tournaments. We have to get them engaged in our section of education. But, and I know in areas like California where traffic can be challenging, we don't, they might not want to be driving 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour to an event. But nowadays with this virtual connection, if we can get those life members of ours to share their wisdom that they've had in their careers. I was on a call the other day with maybe 6 to 8 life members of the PGA, and it was comical in the fondest way, nicest way. There was PGA members that had been members for 62 years, I think was the longest one, and then there was guys getting on the call that, well, I've only been a member for 48 years, right? it was crazy. But just think of the wisdom that was in that room. There was probably 500 or 600 years of wisdom in different types of golf courses. And so it was just amazing. And I think we need to engage our life members within our sections. If you're not there yet, you should be a mentor. But if you don't have time to be a mentor, consider it in helping Nikki and Caitlin in the section of being great mentors to the next generation, because that's really what's missing, I think, of these associates. They can come get all the skills, but they need those soft skills that only veteran type members that have years of wisdom in our trade can share with them.
Yeah, great point. It's funny that you say that, because at one of our associate town halls that we had, the one that had a couple life members at it was definitely the most successful, just for that reason. They were sharing stories, and we didn't even use the agenda at that point. We just shared stories, and they got so much out of it. So,
Yeah.
Great point. Derek, we're at our time here today.
Yes.
I really, really appreciate you being here. I know on behalf of me and Nikki in the both sections, we know you're so busy. You have a lot going on. So appreciate you carving out the time, and thank you for your leadership. I'm excited to see what you do with the PGA and where we go from here. So
you bet. Well, thanks, and hopefully you cheer on Team USA here in about 30 days or so. And if you don't mind, I'll shut my video off, but I'd like to listen to Craig. That's one part that we have a hand in as well. I just got an email this morning. On the tariffs and stuff that just got released, we're going to try to help some of our partners. So I know I don't know if he's talking about tariffs today or water or other advocacy in California, but it's an important topic for our organization. That's how we try to help our members in our 41 sections, is with advocacy as well. So I'll just hang out and listen to all the great things he's doing. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a good
Thanks,
rest of
Derek.
your day.
Yep. See you soon. Mr. Kessler, the floor is yours.
Okay.
And you have 13 minutes.
Well, first, we need to get Derek out to Los Angeles, 30, 40 minutes. If we could just
That's around the block.
Midtown to LA to downtown LA in 35 or 40 minutes, it'd be wonderful, let alone get to an event. That's a problem that we live with here. Anyway, I was on this chat just a few weeks ago. Usually there's a little bit more of a gap. So we're really in the same point in the legislative session that today as we were then, waiting for the legislature to come back from its summer recess, which is Monday the 18th, for the final sprint towards I think this year it's September 6th, so that of all the thousands of bills that were filed at the beginning of the year and then got winnowed down to those that were withdrawn and those that didn't make it through committee, and then those that didn't make it through appropriations, and then those that didn't make it through the floor vote, they've all made it through one house of the legislature, and now they're in the other one, and they have about 3 weeks to get to the governor's desk, and then depending whether you support or oppose legislation, to see whether Governor Newsom is going to sign it or veto it. It's a long process as things wind down. The good news, I think, for the golf industry in California is we had a really good year. Right now, we're in the position of there are no bills that really particularly concern us, unlike previous years. Those things that scared us a little bit, and particularly the one bill that we were the point industry on opposing, which was the standard time bill. That one died very early in its House of Origin in the Senate. It barely made it out of committee with the last second by one vote, and then it died in appropriations, although we expect it to come back. So we're in the position now of just seeing to it that those things that we supported make it through to the governor's desk, and we're pretty confident they'll make it through their other houses. And the one that we will probably actively try to convince the governor this year to sign is Senate Bill 72, which would, for the first time in the history of the state of California, actually put a target on water supply. Now, that target by 2050 is just to make up for the water that climatologists tell us is no longer going to be produced by the Sierra snowpack, but it's a start. And for those, if this were a group of perhaps golf course superintendents instead of golf professionals, when I say there are 81 other mandates, and many of which apply to golf courses and targets, it's about time we had a target on water supply. And if you've been paying attention, whether it's to the chats or to the newsletters that the California Alliance for Golf puts out, there have been a lot of positive developments in California on the waterfront. The governor, the Sites Reservoir is about to start construction next year. Governor Newsom has been a strong supporter of that. That's the last of the great above surface reservoirs in California to go along with all the 21st century methods of water storage and conveyance and transfer and so forth. And there's a lot of movement towards expediting construction. And I would say, again, politically, a shift away from a dominance by an environmentalism that sort of puts the damper, slows down everything and adds to the cost, and a bit of a politics in favor of moving forward. It's a double-edged sword for golf because to the degree to which golf is a target of development and real estate, particularly in the urban core, that makes those things easier. But then again, it also will perhaps reduce the cost and some of the red tape involved with the capital constructions that affects golf courses. The one thing I think we're working on right now, as we may anticipate perhaps considering running our own a bill in 2026, is to duplicate for the golf industry what the restaurant industry throughout the country has been very successful in doing, and that through a series of laws that have now been successful in the states of New York and Florida. And it's always good when a large state is an example as opposed to a small one, because that has more resonance in California than some others, and particularly New York is a state whose politics hew closer to California than, for example, Florida by a wide margin. And those are called Restaurant Reservation Anti-Piracy Acts, that just restaurants, airlines, hotels, and yes, as we discovered particularly last year in the public golf sector in urban California, that as long as we very laudably, we have a lot of municipalities in this state that are absolutely dedicated to our industry in the sense of providing quality, affordable, accessible municipal golf courses at not at subsidies in the sense that those golf courses don't make money, but subsidies in the sense that those golf courses leave a lot of money on the table in order to support golf as an activity for a greater percentage of the income population than would otherwise be possible in a place like this with perfect weather, incredibly high demand. The demand is highest in Los Angeles and Orange counties than anywhere else in the nation, and the supply is actually smaller today than it was 50 or 60 years ago. Contemplate that for a minute. That's a recipe when you have controlled pricing for illicit markets, and there are those who take advantage of it. So golf is passionate. If there's money to be made on golf courses, it ought to be by the operators or the owners and not by those who contribute nothing to it. So interestingly, the state of New York has a bill right now, the state of which I can't quite tell because as much as I've reached out to our counterparts, whether it's in the state of New York, no one can give me any great information, but it's a bill that parallels something that passed there for the restaurant industry in terms of third-party reservations and the golf industry. And we're looking at maybe doing something like that in California. Yes, those of you who tracked the kerfuffle last year in some of the major municipal systems and recognized that the actual policies we were able to implement have kind of calmed that down or certainly mitigated it to a great degree. As long as there's an opportunity for some to make money, they will find ways. And particularly when you're talking about technology, that it's hard to stay ahead of the game. So that's something we're looking at of a proactive sense moving forward. On the reactive sense, we're always alert. Those listening to this know that we've dealt pretty successfully in recent years with carving out a way for PGA professionals to work as independent contractors, making sure that fertilizers can still be used on golf courses in California's coastal zone, guaranteeing that to the degree to which in this state you can no longer use potable water to irrigate non-functional turf. It's very, very clear as in explicit that in the state legislation, which is now being copied and pasted by local jurisdictions, you can use golf courses are exempt from that, just as parks are and a few other things. So we've had a number, and of course the Public Golf Endangerment Acts that would have put free money to develop municipal golf courses, and the ones that would have been vulnerable, it wouldn't have been the Torrey Pines of this state or the Harding Parks. It would have been those developmental facilities where we estimate about 90% of whether it's the Youth on Course, SCGA Junior Foundation, PGA Junior League, or our first tee programs, that's where those programs proliferate. So we've been pretty successful with those things. I'm probably aware more than most that sometimes that success is hung by a thread, but nonetheless, we'll muddle forward, and I think we're in pretty good shape right now. And I think it also gives us an opportunity to sort of look at the institution of the California Alliance for Golf between now and, let's say, the holidays, and make some changes there that I think will strengthen the alliance and maybe encourage some of the private sector in this state that has been, I don't know, I hate to use the phrase free riding, but I think it just spilled out of my mouth, might want to contribute a little bit as well. Because if there's one thing I can assure you of, 10 years ago, we weren't that affected that much on a statewide level, but now it seems like increasingly it comes our way. Final point, because I see Nikki put her picture on, so she's getting ready to close me down. But before she does, I'm going to tout one of her programs. So the PGA of America is extending this program to about 6 or 7 or maybe 8 other sections in the country. But the first one to partner with the GCSA on an ambassador program was SoCal, and that program's up and running. I would encourage professionals to think about it. If nothing else, the training is great. I know when you look at, I know that program is focused on going to congressional offices, but if you get trained, and I'm going to encourage Nikki right now on a live broadcast, I think bring in the SCGA public affairs team, because it's a lot less academic with them and a lot more grassroots. They can tell the stories to the pro how you really do this and get some things done. I think the training is great, and you will discover, at least in this part of the country, that there are golf and water task force and municipal commissions, that this industry has been working to build things that allows you a seat at the table, not to be a tool in some kind of national program at National Golf Day, but to empower yourself, your profession, and your facility to get things done, much more so at the local and regional level. But you need the training to know how that's done. And then you can talk to Nikki or you can talk to me. We're both very accessible. And Caitlin, we're going to do it in the northern part of the state too. You can actually bring real benefits, so that when my passion has been, whether it's a golf course superintendent or a PGA professional or just someone who's active in an amateur golf community, that when you spend a few hours away from your facility and you go back, and the board or a finance committee or an ownership group or an MCO says, so what did you accomplish while you were away? We can give you a list of 9 or 10 things this organization accomplishes for you, your profession, and for that facility. So I think so it's not just all pie in the sky and National Golf Day and putting on a coat and a tie and having a dog and pony show with a congressional office. It's about real value to your facility and about participating in the way in which this system allows a lot to participate in fashioning your own future, not just your future for your profession, but for your golf facility and bringing value. That's what's, I think, ultimately, that's sort of my North Star in all of this, and I hope it would be yours. So Nikki gave me a little bit of extra time because I was touting a program of hers.
I love it.
Universal. And Caitlin, we need to do that up north as well. So with that, I will yield the floor 1 minute in advance, and I want that noted for future reference. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig.
I love it. Thanks, Craig. Your battle is great. We are at the time, guys, and we just want a couple housekeeping announcements before we head out here for the weekend. Hope you have a safe weekend. If you did call in today and you're on the phone, we don't have access to your name, so give a message to your section office so we can record that PDR for you. We are back again on September 12th, Friday, September 12th. We do not have a speaker just yet, but we are in the works, so we will be sure to announce that as soon as possible. Other than that, I think that's it for me. Nikki, do you have anything else before we close?
All good. Thanks again for joining. Derek, thank you so much. Craig, thank you as always. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you next month.